Tim Connolly drums. I'm back from Vegas and Los Angeles and Upper California, Northern California. I was in the desert. Not a huge fan of that desert. Mojave Desert, Colorado Desert. I'm not a fan of that heat. You don't realize how hot 115 degrees is until you are out in it. And also the dryness. I've never been in that kind of dryness before because I've never been in the desert in August. And I recommend nobody go to the desert in August. It is something else. But I got my professional drum shop t-shirt, and that was an excellent part of the trip. And check out that video. I'll put a link in my description to my mini little tour and interview of the owner of the professional drum shop, which is in Hollywood, California. That was the highlight of my trip. But anyways, today, what I'm gonna talk about is the seedy underbelly that is prevalent in the music industry. If you're not involved in music, you're probably not aware of a lot of the things that go on. You may have seen things in movies and whatnot, about how artists got ripped off and artists were mistreated. But when it's one thing to watch a movie, it's just like anything. It's one thing to watch a horror movie. It's a whole different thing to be in the reality of some of the horrors that happen. So I want to talk to you today and tell you a story about my own experiences in the industry, in the lower end of the industry where things happen and you sometimes find yourself in a situation where you're going, what the hell have I gotten myself into? So I can remember playing a gig in Northern Ontario, and it was quite far up, like in Timmins or something, which is very far from here. I'm not exactly sure how far away it is, maybe 10 hours. It's quite a haul to get up to Timmins from where I live. But we were on this little Northern Ontario tour, and we were involved in a situation where we have to play music to fit the crowd. So we had a very large repertoire of music. We had a female singer, and the female singer was quite good. She was really entertaining. She was a very attractive lady, and she was a crowd pleaser. The guitar player would also sing. And the bass player would sing backups. I didn't sing. You don't want to hear me sing. Not a singer. Even though I did sing in a 90s tribute band, but not really a singer. It's not my thing. Anyways, we're up there, we're on this tour, and we're playing in seedy venues. Not the greatest venues by any means. And what ended up happening was the manager that we had at the time, we told them to try to book some venues that are going to accommodate a female singer where she's going to be able to feel safe and secure, and the venues are not against having a female singer, because some places, it's just better to have 4 or 5 guys in the band, and if shit happens, you can deal with things a little bit better. Sometimes with a girl in the band, people get a little bit crazy when you're in these situations when you can't, make sure that she's safe. You're always kind of worried about her a little bit. And that's exactly what happened. So we're playing these gigs in not the greatest venues. And she kept getting hit on and hit on and hit on, and she was getting really stressed out about the whole situation, and she was getting to the point where she didn't want to be on stage because, she dresses up. She's wearing outfits that would suggest that she's looking for a little bit more than just the performance. And that was not the case at all. You got to remember, when you dress to be on stage, it's a whole different thing than when you're just dressed, walking around, leading your everyday life. Also, there's a persona. There's stage persona, and then there's your normal persona. I'm not walking around wearing flashy rock star clothes when I'm just out about my business. I mean, I'm just wearing my professional drum shop t-shirt today. This is about as flashy as it's going to get for me. But, you know, she would dress up and she would look attractive and sexy, and that's what she wanted. She wanted to give that, you know, Las Vegas, Hollywood vibe a little bit. But in Northern Ontario, in some of these venues we were playing, it was a little bit too much for them. And what ended up happening was she was getting very stressed out because these guys were following her, and they kept coming back, trying to come back to find out where we were staying. They kept asking her, where are you staying? Where are you staying? And a lot of the places are small and there's only one or two places to stay. So, you know, we would find guys knocking on our door after the show, and they wanted to talk to the singer. Now, I'm not going to get into names here. That's one thing that I don't do on my channel, is unless it's a very, very positive thing and I want to say something good about somebody, I usually, when I'm telling these stories that are a little bit, you know, a little dicey, I try to keep people's names out to avoid their embarrassment. So these guys were showing up. So we told our manager that, you know, something's got to be done about this. She's very nervous. She's afraid to leave the frickin' hotel room in some cases, and she will not go anywhere by herself, which was totally understandable because everywhere she went, these guys were showing up. So, I mean, it's a difficult situation to be in when you're in a band and it keeps happening over and over. So we would leave one small town and there would be this sense of relief, but then we would get to another small town and it would happen all over again, where these weirdos would just not leave her alone. And what ended up happening was she was actually assaulted, and we came to her rescue in this situation. I'm not going to get into the details of the assault particularly, but she was assaulted and we had to come to her rescue. And as a result, the band was pretty much willing to shut down the entire tour because it just wasn't good. And she was very distraught about this whole situation and she just wanted to go home. So unfortunately for us, the tour got cut short. Now, she was not hurt. The assault that took place was, I'm not going to say it was minor because it was traumatizing to her, but it wasn't a situation where, you know, she was beaten up and raped or anything like that. Nothing like that happened. It wasn't like that at all. It was just a situation where she was cornered and she felt extremely uncomfortable. And, you know, these guys were implying that, you know, they wanted to get together with her and all this sort of thing. And she just kept saying, you know, this isn't going to happen. And, you know, I'm just a performer and all this sort of thing. So there's this dark element that can take place in these band situations, touring situations. Now, I actually had a situation myself that happened that was very strange. Completely different band, completely different time, young and hungry, excited to be a musician. And I was willing to do a lot of things maybe that I shouldn't have been willing to do. It's the old, I sold my soul to the devil to try to make it in the industry. Now, I was never one to be put myself in a dangerous situation. I would never accept, hey, why don't you come back to my place, or anything like that. But there was this one situation that was very strange. It's almost comical, but it freaked me out at the time. Let me tell you this story, guys. So I'm playing a gig at a bar, and you know, it's just a normal type of a gig. It's in Toronto, and we're just doing our thing. In between sets, this lady comes up to me, and she's a real estate agent, pretty normal lady. She starts talking to me, really love the band, love the music, really enjoy what you know, what you guys are doing. And you know, when the show is over, you know, I'd really like to talk to you and maybe get to know you a little bit. And I'm a single guy at the time. She seemed like a perfectly normal, beautiful lady. Everything was fine. Okay. So show's over, and of course I'm tearing down. She comes walking over to me and she starts talking to me and whatnot. And she says, we should get together. Okay. So we exchanged numbers because generally speaking, I don't go out after gigs. The only time I've ever left a gig and went somewhere with people was in a touring situation and or if there was another gig. Sometimes I would play gigs till 2 a.m. and then there would be, believe it or not, an after hours rave club that I would go and do a different gig at. Oh my God, I think about that now and I'm like, oh my God, I was crazy when I was 25, 30 years old doing these kind of gigs. But I would leave one club, go to another, bring my drums, and we would start all over again playing another show, but at 4 in the morning till 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning kind of deal. Anyways, back to my original story, sorry. So we exchange numbers and then I end up, she calls me. Okay, we talk and I tell her I'm playing a show again in Toronto and she says, well, I'm gonna come out and see the show. Okay, great. So she comes out to this second show and she insists at this show that I come over to her place. And I was, again, like I said, I'm not one to go to people's houses, especially when I don't know her. I try to keep it professional and all this sort of thing, but she's insistent. So I end up stupidly, 30-year-old Tim, I go to her house after the show and everything is fine, everything is normal, and until it wasn't normal. I'm just sitting there having a drink, I don't know, 3:30 in the morning, and I'm looking at my watch going, I got to get out of here because I'm tired and whatever. And all of a sudden she comes out of the bathroom and she's wearing a robe and she's like, maybe you should grab a shower or something. And I'm like, I don't think I'm interested in that. I'm going to go home and shower. I'm not showering here. And then, so she tries to convince me, which I say no. And then she sits down across from me and she says, you're the chosen one. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? This is where things get really weird. She proceeds to tell me about how she has this weird fantasy life with her boyfriend. Oh, she's got a boyfriend. And it involves gimp masks and leather and bondage and tying people up, and I'm the perfect one. And I'm like, what? Like, we've always wanted a musician because you guys are more artsy and open-minded and interested in experimenting and doing new things. And I'm like, she doesn't know me very well because I'm not interested in doing anything with her and her boyfriend. This is getting weird. So I'm like, I think it's time for me to go. She stands up, grabs the phone, and this was still a corded dial phone. She gets on the phone. Yeah, come on over. He's here now. Yeah, oh yeah, you better get over here fast because he's trying to leave. You need to talk to him, whatever. So I'm thinking, what the hell is going on? And I try to leave. She slams the phone down because I listened to her talking on the phone, and then she tries to prevent me from leaving. And I'm like, look, lady, I don't want to get into a pushing, shoving, aggressiveness. I just want to leave. You can't block me from leaving. I just want to leave. Because I'm thinking, gimp masks, leather, bondage, what are these people going to do? Tie me up and whip me? This is getting too weird for me. I'm not into that shit in any way, shape, or form. Plus, honestly, despite the myth of musicians getting all the girls, a lot of the girls I'm just not interested in getting, even as a single guy, because of these weird situations that I never really wanted to get myself into. So now here I am thinking, oh man, every other time I would just go home, and this time, what have I got myself into? So I'm thinking this guy could be 6'6", 250 pounds. I'm gonna have to fight him. What are they gonna do to me? So I just tell her, I go, look, I'm leaving. You're not going to be able to stop me. I am leaving. She blockades the door. She starts putting stuff in front of the door and says, you're not leaving. I'm looking around trying to figure out how the hell I'm going to get out of here. I ended up climbing out through a window. Even though I had to fight her off to be able to open the window. So finally, I get the window open. I'm struggling with her. I'm trying not to hurt her. I'm trying not to be, violent. I just want to leave. And she's preventing me from leaving. As I'm going out the window, I see this guy walking up the street. And this guy was a fairly large guy, and he had a bag with him. And I'm like, oh my God, that's probably the boyfriend as I'm getting out the window. I hope he doesn't see me. I'm all in panic now. She doesn't see him, thank God, because I'm sure if she had seen him, she would have started yelling. Now, she's not yelling. She's just telling me not to leave, or asking me not to leave. Please come back in, whatever, as I'm going through the window, and we're kind of fighting. So I get out. Luckily, this guy had sort of passed by me by the time I got out of the window. He did not see me. And I literally just ran. Luckily, I had my shoes. I grabbed my shoes and I had them in my hand and I ran. I was also paranoid about my gear. As musicians, we always have to worry about our gear. I'm thinking, what if she calls him again and says, he's outside, go stop him, or go damage his gear. Maybe he's got friends. I don't know. You got a million thoughts running through your head in these situations. So anyways, he disappears around the corner because he's going into the house. I disappear to the car. Then she starts yelling because he obviously had came in the house. I can't hear what she's yelling, but I'm guessing it's he just went out the window, or he's outside, or whatever. Because I get in my car, I start it up, and I scream out of there. As I scream out of there, this clown is coming out of the house. He's running out of the house. She's running out of the house. The two of them are running out of the house, like trying to stop me. And I'm thinking, oh no, is this going to be a car chase? Like, are they going to chase me down? Luckily, he did not get back in his car. She did not get in the car. They just kind of gave up. Thank God. I left. My heart's beating 1,000,000 miles an hour. And I just left. And I drove straight home. And to this day, I can kind of laugh about it now, but at the time I was scared shitless because it was just a really awkward, weird situation. And after that, I never went back to anybody's house unless I was with another band member, or it was somebody that I knew, or it was a party situation where there was going to be groups of people. If anyone said, hey, why don't you come back to my place, which happened many times, but I said absolutely not. So my heart's beating like a rabbit just telling you guys this story right now. Like I said, I can sort of laugh about it, but at the time, it was not funny. I was lucky to get out of there without any weirdness happening. I never got tied up, and I've never been into that whole gimp mask stuff. So, like I said, I'm laughing about it now, but imagine if I had stayed, or if he had come in and tied me up or something. Like, I don't know what these people were up to. Maybe they were just going to rob me. I don't know. But I didn't want to find out. So, man, oh man, you guys are probably thinking, this guy has got some weird stories. But I can assure you, when you're a working professional musician and you get yourself into some weird situations, it can go south quick. So these are two stories of the dark side, the bottom end of working as a musician. So I can tell you guys that you want to be safe if you're a working musician. Don't be vulnerable to people talking you into doing things you don't want to do. Okay? So stay safe out there, and when your instincts tell you this isn't right, listen to those instincts. Listen to those instincts. And by the way, I was completely sober through this whole thing. I used to drink, but I never drank at gigs. I don't drink anymore at all. I haven't had a drink for a few years now. It's got nothing to do with situations or whatever. I just decided for my health to stop drinking, and I haven't had a drop in a couple of years. So anyways, I want to thank my new subscribers. I'm really happy to be home from that trip because the desert is not the place for me. It is way too hot for me, way too hot in the middle of, I went to Joshua Tree National Park, which is I can't remember the desert that's at the Joshua Tree National Park, but it's beautiful there. It's really interesting, but hot as anything. Anyways, thank you again for subscribing, viewing, and check out my drum video about the professional drum shop in Hollywood, California. And they're not paying me to say this, but what a fantastic shop. Two brothers own it, Jerry and Steve, I believe are their names. And just amazing drum store, and it's the store to the stars, as the saying goes. Don't be intimidated about going in there, like one commenter said to me. Just go in there and enjoy it and take it all in. Thanks very much for watching, and as always, keep drumming. See ya.